Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In the previous recording, we tried to give a practical definition of the term morphology. And we basically said that it is the study of word structure. We tried to define the term word. We also tried to define the term structure. Now, in this recording, we are going to speak about the components or the main components of word structure, especially in languages like English. Word structure in these languages consists of two main components, two main units, roots and affixes. So in this recording, we are going to explain what does the term root mean and what does affix mean. So let's start by root. A root is defined as what is left of a word when you remove all affixes. This is a very operational definition because when you take a word and you remove the affixes which are attached to that word, what is left for you, okay, that part of the word which is left is called root. For example, you can speak about roots like ask as a verb, boy as a noun, okay, cat, help, strange as an adjective, and so on. All these are roots because they cannot be further divided. If you further divide them, then the identity of the word and its meaning are lost. So in the second definition, the root is defined as the base form of a word which cannot be further analyzed without the loss of the word's identity. For example, if we take the word characterization, it can be derived from the verb characterized. The verb itself can be derived from the noun character. Therefore, the root of characterization is character. You cannot further divide the word character, for example, to say it consists of ka and racter or kara and actor and so on. No, because if you do that, then you are going to lose the word itself. The following point is about the types of roots. There are two types of roots, syllabic roots and consonantal roots. Syllabic roots, like those found in European languages, their base necessarily consists of at least one syllable, like by, small, pen. You can find roots which consist of more than one syllable, like character, which consists of three syllables. The second type of roots is called consonantal roots. This kind of roots is found especially in Semitic languages like Arabic and all languages in which derivation is based on patterns and templates. The base in this case consists of a triliteral root, digitated with certain vocalic patterns. What we mean by consonantal root, very simply, is words like in Arabic, if you take an example like kataba, and you want to find out its root, the root of kataba is not kataba as a verb in the simple past, because kataba in Arabic is a verb in the simple past in the third person singular. If you translate it into English, it becomes he wrote, okay, huwa kataba. This verb, okay, has no syllabic root. You cannot say that its root is ka, ta, and ba. No, its root is k, t, and b. Once you insert the vowels within these, okay, in the middle of these consonants, okay, then you derive a new word. So kataba can become kutiba, kutubun, katibun, maktubun, and so on. That's why they are called syllabic roots. Now, the further point is about affixes. What are affixes? Affixes are linguistic elements which are added to a word to produce new inflected or derived forms. So they are those parts of word which can be added either to the final position of word or the first position of word, or sometimes in the middle, or sometimes they in the middle and at the end of a word, to produce new forms or new meanings or new grammatical classes, or sometimes you just add extra grammatical information to the word by adding new affixes. Okay, affixation is a process whereby one or several morphemes are added to a base to create either an inflected word form or a new word. Reasons for affixation. There are three main reasons of affixation. The first reason is semantic. The second one is grammatical. The third one is semantic and or grammatical. Concerning the semantic reason, we add new affixes to words so as to create new meanings, to derive new meanings, like in the examples you see in front of you. Rewrite, okay, the root is a write. When you say rewrite, okay, you express a kind of repetition of the action. So re is a prefix which is added to create a new semantic meaning. The other example, lock is the root. When you say unlock, it's the opposite. So you negate the action of locking. This is what we call semantic reason. Concerning the grammatical reason, we add affixes just for the sake of having an extra grammatical information, like the tense of the verb, adding a tense to the verb, or number or gender. When you add these notions to these grammatical notions to words, then you are creating, or you are doing affixation for the sake of a grammatical reason. So go becomes goes, third person singular. Student becomes students. This is okay from you pass from the singular to the plural, and so on. The third reason why we do affixation is semantic and or grammatical. Both of them. You can have semantic and grammatical reason at the same time. The best example to illustrate this idea is a verb like suit, which becomes suitable, or accept, which becomes acceptable. The affix able fulfills in these examples two reasons or two functions. It has two functions. The first function is to change a verb into an adjective. So the verb suit becomes suitable, which is an adjective, or the verb accept becomes acceptable as an adjective. So this is a grammatical reason to change the category of a word from a verb into an adjective, or from a noun into a verb, or from an adjective into a noun, and so on. The second reason, okay, or the second function of that suffix able is to change the meaning of the word. So you have the verb suit or the verb accept. When you say suitable or acceptable, okay, it's not the same. There is a degree of acceptability that you add to the verb accept, and a degree of suitability that you add to the verb suit, and so on. So the affix able, okay, adds or is associated with those verbs so as to fulfill two reasons: a grammatical reason and a semantic reason. Now, what are the types of affixes? We have seen before the types of roots, and we said that roots can be consonantal or syllabic. There are also types of affixes. So the famous ones that you know, as students of English, are prefixes and suffixes, and they are easy to understand. The prefix is an affix which is added to the beginning of a word, okay, like an in unhappy, like re in review, redo, and so on. These are prefixes. Suffixes are added to the final position of a word. They are placed okay, after the root or a stem. Okay, common examples like we have words like teach becomes teacher with er at the end. We have act becomes active with iv at the end. We have engage becomes engagement with ment at the end. All these are called suffixes. Suffixes can also carry grammatical information such as pens, s at the end of pen, talked, ed at the end of talk, smallest, est at the end of the adjective small, makes, and so on. All these are types of suffixes. There are other types of affixes, but they are not common in English. They are common in other languages. They are, for example, we can mention infix, circumfix, transfix, and so on. What does an infix mean? An infix is a type of affix which is inserted in the middle of word. We can venture and say that examples like man, which becomes man, foot, which becomes feet, mouse, which becomes mice, are illustrations of infixation in English, because there is a kind of change which occurs in the middle of the word. So man becomes man. There is an e which is inserted in the middle. Foot becomes feet. There is a double e which is inserted in the middle, and so on. Though some people would say that this is not an example of, this is not a good example of infixation. It is just a kind of morphological change which occurs in the middle of the word, because a becomes e in man, double o becomes double e in foot, and ou in mouse becomes I in its plural form, mice, and so on. But okay, you can find both views in literature. Some people would say that these are cases of infixation. Some other people would say these are just cases of morphological change. But you can find some other examples in English, okay, like in an example of where you have a word like passers-by, when you have an s which is inserted, because the singular form of passers-by is pass-by. So when you have an s there, which is inserted between passer and by, some people would consider that s as a kind of infixation. But there are clearer examples of infixation in Arabic, like the word you can see in front of you, ijtahada, which comes from jahada. Jahada, we have ta, which is inserted in the middle, though some people again would say that there is also an a at the beginning of the word. Anyway, these are just some examples for you to have an idea about what infixation means. Another kind of affixation, which is not common in English but it's common in other languages, is called circumfix. A circumfix is an affix which is placed around another morpheme. It consists of two parts. The first part occurs at the initial position of the root, and the second part occurs at the final position of the root. Examples like unconsciousness, which exists in English, are not, I say again, these are not instances or examples of circumfix. Why? Because this kind of words consists of two elements, un and ness, and each one of these two elements, which one of these two affixes, is independent of the other one. But a good example of circumfix comes from language like Berber, where you have the feminine of isli is tislit. You have t at the end. Both of them are necessary. You cannot say tisli, you cannot say isli. You have to say tislit so as to pronounce, so as to derive the feminine form of the word, isli. You have other examples in German, in Hungarian. You can read them for yourself. An example of another kind of affixation is called transfix. Transfix is an